Welcome to my channel Value Old Coins. Today videos is one you won't to miss. We're diving into the world of coins, so let's get it started. The 1962 2 shillings coin from the United Kingdom is a fascinating relic from the era of Queen Elizabeth II's early reign. Commonly referred to as a florin, this coin was part of the British pre-decimal currency system, circulating in a time when the pound sterling was subdivided into 20 shillings, and each shilling consisted of 12 pence. As such, the 2 shillings coin had a value of 1/10 of a pound, or 24 old pence. The 1962 issue is notable not only for its historical context and design, but also for its position near the end of the florin's long lifespan, which would be phased out just under a decade later when the United Kingdom decimalized its currency in 1971. Historical context. To appreciate the 1962 florin, one must first understand the broader historical framework in which it existed. The reign of Queen Elizabeth II began in 1952, following the death of her father, King George VI. The 1960s were a period of significant transformation in Britain, socially, culturally, and economically. The British Empire was dissolving, giving rise to the modern Commonwealth of Nations, and domestically, post-war recovery was gradually giving way to the liberal and vibrant atmosphere of the swinging 60s. The florin, however, was a much older denomination. First introduced in 1849 under Queen Victoria, it was originally conceived as part of a trial for decimalization, as it equated to 1/10 of a pound. This early introduction of decimal-friendly coinage was decades ahead of its time. Over the years, the florin saw numerous changes in size, metal composition, and design, reflecting both technological advancements and the evolving aesthetics of the monarchy. Obverse design. The monarch's portrait. The obverse, or front, of the 1962 2 shillings coin features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right. This portrait was designed by Mary Gillick, a highly respected British sculptor. It was the first definitive coin portrait of the Queen, used from her coronation in 1953 until the mid-1960s. Unlike later portraits which showed the Queen wearing a crown or diadem, Gillick's effigy presents her bareheaded and wearing a laurel wreath, an emblem of classical antiquity symbolizing victory, peace, and honor. This choice imbued the young Queen with a timeless grace and aligned her image with those of ancient sovereigns and Roman emperors. Around the edge of the coin is the Latin inscription, Elizabeth II, Dei Gratia, Regina Fd, abbreviated from Elizabeth II Dei Gratia, Regina Fide Defensor, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. Each part of this inscription holds deep constitutional significance. Dei Gratia emphasizes the divine right and sanctity traditionally associated with monarchy. Regina is simply Latin for queen, and Fide Defensor, or Defender of the Faith, is a title dating back to Henry VIII, granted by Pope Leo X, before the English Reformation, and retained even after the split from the Catholic Church. This blend of ancient Latin and British monarchy reflects centuries of tradition, reinforcing the Queen's role not only as a political leader, but as a spiritual symbol. Reverse design. Tudor rose and national unity. The reverse design of the 1962 florin is perhaps its most striking visual feature. It was designed by Edgar Fuller and Cecil Thomas, and first introduced in 1949 during King George VI's reign. At the center of the reverse is a stylized Tudor rose, a historic emblem that symbolizes the union of the houses of Lancaster and York, bringing together centuries of dynastic conflict and reconciliation into a single enduring image. Surrounding the rose are 4 thistles, 4 shamrocks, and 4 leeks, representing Scotland, Ireland, and Wales respectively, interspersed between a cross-like arrangement. This design served to emphasize the unity of the 4 nations of the United Kingdom, subtly reinforcing the theme of collective identity during a time when post-war national rebuilding and growing independence movements in Commonwealth countries were reshaping the political landscape. Encircling the floral design is the inscription, 2 shillings 1962, clearly denoting the denomination and year of minting. The absence of a mint mark indicates the coin was struck at the Royal Mint in London, which at the time was still the primary facility for UK coin production. Metal composition and specifications. The 1962 florin was struck in cupronickel, a corrosion-resistant alloy composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition replaced the previous 50% silver alloy that had been used until 1946, following the economic pressures of World War II and the need to divert silver for other purposes. Though the new alloy lacked the intrinsic value and lustrous shine of silver, it was highly durable and allowed the mint to produce large quantities of coinage at lower cost. The coin has a diameter of 28.5 millimeters and weighs approximately 11.3 grams, with a milled, reeded edge, which historically served both as a decorative feature and a practical measure to prevent coin clipping, where dishonest individuals shaved off small amounts of precious metal from the coin's edge. Circulation and legacy. The 1962 2 shillings coin was produced in significant quantities for everyday circulation. Although it was a common coin during its time, its practical lifespan was limited by the UK's decimalisation, which took full effect on February 15, 1971, known as Decimal Day. The florin, interestingly, was retained for a time after decimalisation and redesignated as the 10 new pence coin, since its value, 1/10 of a pound, fit perfectly into the new decimal system. It continued in circulation with this dual identity until a smaller 10p coin was introduced in 1992, rendering the original florins obsolete. Collector interest and value. Because the 1962 florin was struck in large numbers and is relatively modern, it is generally not considered rare, and circulated examples are quite affordable. However, for collectors of British pre-decimal coinage, or those with a focus on the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, the coin holds both nostalgic and historical appeal. Well-preserved examples in uncirculated or proof condition are more desirable and can fetch higher prices, especially if accompanied by original packaging or provenance. Coins that exhibit full luster, sharp detail, and minimal wear are particularly prized. Symbolism and enduring cultural significance. What makes the 1962 florin particularly interesting is its symbolism. It represents a period of transition between the traditional pre-decimal system and the modern decimal coinage, between empire and commonwealth, and between the post-war monarchy and the media-savvy, globally visible reign that Queen Elizabeth II would come to embody in the following decades. It also bridges centuries of history, from the Tudor rose, evoking dynastic union, to the Latin inscriptions echoing ancient Rome, to the modern industrial alloy used to strike it. It is, in many ways, a coin steeped in layers of meaning, political, cultural, and numismatic.